If you want to build a loyal following, and if you want to have a community that fucks with you, you have to put them through things that challenge them. You can't just hand over everything for free. You can't just make everything easy and comfortable, because if you don't pay, you don't pay attention, right? And if you get everything for free, you're not going to value it. And if you see me all the time, then you're going to begin to think I'm normal. So familiarity breeds contempt. The less you see me, the better. So I limit my content, but I maximize my distribution. So I figure out what is like a winning Facebook ad. You can match that same thing with the concept of content creation. So you have a winning piece of content. Perfect. That video gets 1 million views. That's a winning piece of content. You've proven the thesis. Are you only going to limit that video to 1 million views? Or are you going to repurpose that video 10,000 times? So in 2023, we posted almost 100,000 videos.
Wow.
And that is the difference between me and everybody else. Is with the 100,000 videos, I don't have to focus on sending emails. I don't have to focus on giving people a second chance, because there's always new inflow of individuals that are willing to actually go through the 369 process and sign up before everybody else and join the community and become part of Capital Club.
As a way, one, it's a way to own your list, right? So you talk about rent the list versus own the list. So it is a way to own the list. If you were to get canceled on all the platforms, you have no email list, which is the problem. But it's also a way to nurture the list. And so basically you're saying, forget nurturing on email. I'm just going to continue to nurture them online.
Yes, 100%. And you nurture them through short form. So long form is when they know what you're about. Short form is when they know that you exist. So in short form, they know that you exist. And then the continuous repetition of email is what? For you to be in front of people. But that doesn't mean you have to be in front of people via email all the time. So the question is, what do you use the email communication for? I began perceiving email completely different than any other digital marketers ever talked about email. So I consider myself, let's say I have my own kingdom, right? Back in the day, 2,000 years ago, Alexander the Great conquered all of the known world.
Luke the Great.
He not quite. But he clearly didn't have the ability, the access, or the time to go to every single governor, every single point of his empire, and proclaim his message. He had to send what? Messengers. In this case, emails. But what were they talking about? The word of the king, whatever he wanted to transmit. It wasn't the messenger cooking up a message via email marketing with a nice slogan on behalf of the king. So every email that comes from me. I sit down, I write it, whether it's on my phone, whether it's on my notes, and I send it to my team. So the authenticity level that's attached to the email, I don't see it as email marketing. I see it as a one-on-one communication with another individual. That's why my email open rates with a 250,000 follower list is 68%.
Now, let's talk about, I want to jump back to the beginning, but I want to hammer this point home. So that's cool for you. Great job. Like you can not let anybody in, 15% of the amount of people in. What about people that don't have that many people? I mean, how would you apply that to something where, you're trying to get 50 people to join?
First, you need to ask yourself, is what I'm building or who I am worth following or worth investing in? And it's a candid conversation, because you are in a marketplace where there's competitors. There's people that are phenomenal. There's people that are excellent. I mean, you're in the finance space. You understand your competitors. There's dudes out there that are extremely intelligent, really competent. So you have to get to par, be legit, in order to compete at that level.
Yeah.
So I think initially, before even conversing about building a following, it's, are you worth following, right? So the reason you have so many followers on YouTube is because your content is fucking phenomenal. The reason I reached out to you was because I saw your BIS, world structure. I'm like, oh, financial structure. I'm like, okay, this guy's quite intelligent. Now I know what he's about. Let me go reach out to him.
Yeah.
And that's because you had substance. Most people are out here doing bullshit stuff online. They have no substance. So they're not worth following. So first is ask yourself, do I have a product worth selling that people want? And am I somebody worth following? If the answer is no, then ask yourself, who do I have to become in order to become worth following?
Yeah.
You went through the fucking trenches. You went through, oh wait, implosion.
Yeah.
You went through all the bullshit. You sold companies. You listed companies. Like, you've done the whole nine. So now you're in a situation whereby you actually have credibility and street cred and validity to do what? To actually be in a situation whereby you can coach, you can teach, you can build communities. You're worth listening to.
Right.
Other people aren't. So I think before getting to that stage of, hey, why don't people listen to me? Ask yourself, am I worth listening to? And if the answer is yes, now you need to start creating content. Content around what? Content around what you know. Become passionate about it and understand that there's people that are there with you. And then when it comes to how much content you need to produce, I take a completely different approach than Gary Vee. Gary Vee says create content. No. Create limited amount of content that is high quality, known to convert, and distribute that to everybody that knows who or knows this niche or this community. And if they don't know who you are, they will. And it's a very different approach, a very different format, because instead of doing this shotgun approach of a million pieces of content, I'll take one winning piece of content and distribute it to ensure that hundreds of millions of people see it if I know it converts.
I love that. It's, I know you worked with Andrew Tate, and it's sort of the message Andrew Tate has about getting girls. Become the kind of guy that a girl wants. Like, don't just be mad about it. And so you're kind of saying the same thing about your content. Like, become the kind of person that somebody would be interested in. I remember when I think right around when I was 20 or so, I just had this idea. I need to travel the world. And the reason why I wanted to travel the world is I wanted to have a bunch of stories because I wanted to be interesting. And now I travel a couple months a year, and I've been doing that for decades now. And so it's like, but at that time, it was like, I need to go have experiences so I have things to talk about. And so business deals that you do, all of those things, so it plays in. What about when you talk about the content, the Gary Vee? So Gary Vee's like, don't create, document. Just document what you're doing. And not like, hey, here's what I'm eating, but more like the lessons that you're learning along the way is kind of what I picked up from it. But you're talking about like creating content, but you create content across a pretty wide niche, or not a niche, but really a wide group of subjects. Everything from stoicism to crypto to creating content to whatever. What do you think about starting niche down, niche your face off, if you will? The riches are in the niches versus like being so broad like you are.
So it depends on the niche that you pick, and it depends on your objective. So for example, my umbrella approach is very simply everything's aligned. So if you look at the people that are usually involved in stoicism, they're also involved in the understanding of entrepreneurship, or they want sovereignty. So now the understanding of crypto and Bitcoin could tie into the idea of this autonomy. And then Bitcoin ties into the concept of principles of being your own merchant, managing your own money. That ties into, okay, now I have freedom of money. Maybe I want freedom of employment. So now you begin to talk about that. And now, okay, well, social media, how can I make money online? So what I try to create isn't individual niches that are viewed individually. I try to create a garden. So I create a garden for the community, and how I view my community is very different to how most people view it. Most people view the community as a place where they're going to make money. So how I view, if my internet exposure was like a small little empire in the real world, I would consider Capital Club or my community like the Nile River. You don't take from the Nile River. The Nile River exists. Your goal is to preserve it. You build your empire around the Nile River. So what are the businesses that you're building around the community while nurturing and sustaining the community? Most people fuck up the community. Most people poison the river. Most people destroy it instead of building around it. So I have my beautiful community, great people, top of the top. Now, how can I empower them? So empowering them through different experiences, different events, different content that I understand, because I'm very similar to my audience, what I want. So I only talk about the shit that I enjoy because I know we have, for example, similar interests. We could sit down and talk about stoicism, Bitcoin, crypto, and entrepreneurship, and that's it. And it's within our niche and our range. Yeah. So I try to become really good at what I like and then share those things to people that are similar to me. And it just happens to be that my audience and my choice of enjoyment is large enough, and it's becoming the future. Like e-commerce and crypto, it's only going to get bigger. Yeah. And we just happen to be at the cusp of it. So it works.